Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I have had such a busy day today. I ran around with my cousin Caroline. We had cousin fun day, and we did errands, and then I came home, and I have filmed a bunch of videos, and my husband worked all day, and then he went to hot yoga, and he is finishing up hot yoga, and he should be home here in just, I don't know, the next 20 or 30 minutes. And so I thought, I'm gonna pop on here and do a Peterisms video real quick. Drew Bradley is sitting right down here. He ran around outside, and then he came inside, and he had a little bit of dinner, and he's been following me around, and he's been helping me with all the chores in the house tonight. So anyway, I brought the two Melody Beatty books with me. I thought, let's just keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. That's a recovery saying, keep it simple, stupid, kiss. And let's just read from the meditation books. So let's get in here and look and see what the meditations have to say to us. So from the language of letting go, February 2nd, the meditation is about trusting our higher power. Okay. Maybe. And then let's look and see in the journey to the heart. I try to pick meditations which I feel like are kind of like applicable to everybody. So let's go in here and see what the meditation for February 2nd says on here. Cherish today's lessons. Let's read this one first. Okay, February 2nd. Cherish today's lessons. I'm brokenhearted about my divorce, the man said. I spent 4 years searching for a new wife, trying to recreate my family, trying to jam the pieces of the picture back in place. All I've gotten from the desperate search is more pain and anguish. It's hurt other people. It's hurt me. I'm tired of trying to manipulate other people to meet my own needs, to postpone my own grief. Some of us may be desperately trying to recreate the life we once had. But fear, pain, and desperation won't attract the answer we're seeking. Desperation attracts desperation. Pain attracts pain. And so the downward spiral goes. Yes, loss hurts. Sometimes life hurts too, but loss can't be negotiated. Becoming obsessed with putting the pieces back in place is an understandable reaction, but it won't work. Yesterday cannot be superimposed on today. We need to go one step further. Feel the obsession and let it go. Feel the desperation, then release that. Come back to the lessons of today. They are different from the lessons of yesterday, but just as valuable. We face many losses along the way. People we love disappear from our lives. We may lose a career, money, or something else we valued. We can lose our dreams too. But looking for quick replacements as a way to avoid feeling pain about the loss won't work. And we'll miss the lessons. Before we can go on, we must feel our sadness about what we lost. Losses demand acceptance. Eventually, life will send you new people and new dreams. Cherish this time to grow and learn. Cherish what the universe is teaching you now. This is a really poignant meditation, really for me, because it's a good reminder. On here it says, some of us may be desperately trying to recreate the life we once had. You know, when I'm reading these meditations, I'm often thinking to myself about how it applies to me, or lessons that I've learned along the way, or experiences that I've had in my life. Maybe I still haven't learned those lessons. I don't know, you know? But I think about how the meditation applies to me. And when I'm sitting down in the morning and I'm reading these or whenever I get up, and I'm reading these meditations with a cup of coffee or a glass of water or whatnot, that's how I kind of apply them. You know, the meditation may be about acceptance, and it may be talking about acceptance of one thing, and I apply it to acceptance of something else. And so when it talks about like grieving and wanting to recreate the life that we once had, it immediately makes me think of the first time that my husband and I were in marriage counseling. And I can remember like going to marriage counseling for like the first couple sessions, and I was really resistant to go to marriage counseling, you know? I think almost, well, I believe that we live in a society where sometimes it's easier to break up or divorce and go our separate ways, or we think it's easier to do that, to dissolve a relationship, than it is to actually work on the relationship and make it stronger. What I know today, at 14 years of us being together, 14 and a half years of us being together, and 11 and a half years being married, what I know today is that the hard work that we did in marriage counseling and the lessons that we applied outside of marriage counseling were the things that needed to happen to make our marriage as strong as it is today. But when I went into marriage counseling, I think that I had this attitude of that, like, I missed how things were the first year or two of our relationship, or I wanted to just go back to this dream state of how we were in the first 6 months to a year, and all this kind of stuff. And I couldn't wait to see him as soon as we were together and all that kind of stuff. And I have this very, fantastical idea of what a relationship should be, and I don't think that people should let go of that. I think you can have that at 20, 30 years of a relationship as well. But I think you have to do the work to retain that in a relationship. And I can remember going into counseling. My husband was the one that wanted to get it. He was the one that eventually said, we're going to either go to counseling or we're going to get divorced, and it's up to you. But I can't continue to stay here and just live miserably. We need to work on this. And I was so afraid because I was like, I don't know what's going to come out in therapy. I don't know what's going to be asked of me. And I just was terrified of the whole process, right? Which, with my history, you would think that I wouldn't be afraid of that, but I was. And so I remember going into counseling, and at that time, we were seeing a marriage counselor once a week, and then one of us would see him individually, and then the next week the other one would see him individually, and then we were going to marriage counseling every other week. And I remember in my individual session, I made some comment. This was one of the very first times I met with him. I made some comment about I just want to get back what we had. I just wish that we had the relationship that we had, several years ago. And I'll never forget, our counselor looked at me and he said, well, that's impossible. And if that's what you're here to look for, you're never going to find it here. So this is pointless. And I felt like this pit in my stomach just drop. I was like, well, then what are we doing here? If I can't go back to having this marriage and this relationship that we once had, what am I doing here, Because that was what I was grieving. I was grieving the loss of what we once had. And we had grown so apart from each other and whatnot, And then he let me sit there for a little bit in it. And he said, because timing was very important with this therapist. And he said, but the thing is that as you go forward and as we work in therapy, he said, you can set new boundaries and new limits on your marriage. And you can define what you want your marriage to look like today. And he said, because whatever was going on back then led to you guys being here today and you not being happy in the marriage that you have today. And I thought, wow, that's really true. It really is, And so, and whenever I say that about setting new boundaries and new limits, people, I think, often assume that, oh, we're in an open marriage. We're not. We're in a very traditional marriage. And that's very important to both of us. But, it wasn't even the big stuff. I think sometimes people think couples get divorced over the big stuff. And having seen so many of my friends get broken up or going through divorce or whatever at this point, what I realize is it often starts with the small stuff. It often starts with the not communicating, not understanding each other, not being on the same page, not talking to one another, not sharing what's really going on with one another. And so when Alex and I would see that happening with other couples, and we could also see that had happened with us, those were ways that we wanted to redefine our relationship, But I had to let go of this idea that my life was ever going to look, my relationship was ever going to look like it had previously. Because that didn't exist anymore, And that just was never going to happen again. And then I started being able to apply that to all areas of my life, I was kind of stuck in this time zone of everything that had happened before my mom died and after my mom died. And I kind of wasn't allowing myself to move on, And I've done that at many points in my life before, where it's I feel stuck. I can't move on because I'm so grieving the loss of this era or this timepiece that I had. One of the hardest things for me right now, which I know people are going to say this is whatever, but if you have pets, I think you'll relate to this. You know, in the last 3 years, we've lost Pee-Pee, our Chihuahua, and we've lost Tucker, you know, Boo Radley's brother. And it's really hard for me because, and it's hard for Alex too, because we wonder, you know, like how long does Boo Radley have and whatever. And that period of time where Pee-Pee and Tucker and Boo Radley existed together in this home and ran around in the backyard together, and I would wake up and it was these 3 dogs and they were jumping everywhere and whatever. Like, that is a very happy memory to me of this time, this bygone time, right? That's not the world that we have today. We have 1 dog. He's right here. Boo Radley is right here, and he is trying to, oh, I just dropped my glasses, and he is trying to get up on the lap. And we love him very, very much. And that's something that Alex and I had to talk a lot about, you know, and also talk about in therapy was, how are we the best dog dads that we possibly can be to Boo Radley without, I know, honey, without, you know, constantly being sad about Tucker and Pee-Pee in this long time and counting down the days till, you know, hoping that Boo Radley makes it to live to be 30 and be the oldest dog alive. Because it's hard, you know, it's real hard. And I think that often that grieving process is wishing, I think that's the bargaining part, you know, that they've added to the 5, 6 stages of, well, it was 5 stages of grieving, you know, but now they've added bargaining. I think that that's part of it that's so hard is that, you know, you wish so bad that you had this old life that isn't possible anymore. But I also think that that's life, and you know, and that life goes on and it changes, and you know, I'm trying to accept that, and not only accept it, because I used to say I hated change, you know, whatever. When I started YouTube, I probably said I hated change, but in the last couple years, I've tried to embrace change and realize that with all changes, there comes some good, and that you can look at things in different ways, you know, and I'm very sad about Tucker and Pee-Pee being gone, but I also have a different relationship with this little guy. I mean, he and I are here all day together, and so I get to spend a lot of one-on-one time with him, you know? I mean, I wouldn't trade that for, I wish I could have them back in a heartbeat, you know? But that's not possible, and I have to be realistic about that, and I have to be realistic about things that have happened, you know? And for me, going through marriage therapy or marriage counseling and being able to look at, okay, this was the marriage that we had in the past, that I'm grieving the loss of what I thought it was. What do I want, in a perfect world, what would my marriage look like today? And then I'm able to have that. I'm able to work on that and say, okay, this is the marriage that I want to have. This is the marriage that my husband wants to have. What do we do to get that? What's the work that we do to get that? And you can have that. But to stay, it's like the saying, you know, 1 foot in yesterday and 1 foot in tomorrow, and we poop all over today, you know? It's not healthy. It's just not. And so you have to, you know, focus on the fact that that life that you once had is gone. And, you know, but that doesn't mean that you can't have the life that you want at all, right? So anyway, let me know what you think about all of that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.